So let's talk about Sinners very briefly. Why this movie has been so impactful, personally, spiritually, as well as culturally. Now, for me personally, maybe you are familiar with my personal spiritual brand, which is the words, the ways, the will, right? That's what you find in my bio when we talk about magic, when we talk about spirituality, when we talk about manifestation. It takes three key ingredients to bring something forth, right? So you need to have the will, which is the intentions, the desire, the need, the willpower to go after the thing that you want, right? You need to have a way to achieve that. And we can do that by many ways, right? That's the body, that's the physicality, the ingredients of the spell. That is the 3D representation and elements of what you are bringing into form, right? So for hoodoo and for witches, we might use crystals, we might use oils, we might use roots, we might use dolls, we might use different foods and beverages, and these are the physical components that we wrap with our intentions, right? Our prayers, in order to infuse with that prayer, with that magic, okay? So the way, and then you need to have the words, and the words, can be a prayer, a psalm, a verse from the Bible. It can be something that you wrote, a poem. It could be just whatever you jot down in your journal this morning. Okay, so the words. Now, this is why the movie Sinners was so powerful to me, because it gave so many examples of the words, the ways, and the will in terms of our culture, in terms of foundational Black Americans, indigenous people, who do culture, as well as more, I'll call it traditional for the sake of this video, religious belief systems such as Christianity. All of those key components are still there, okay? And this movie really touched me specifically as a artist, first and foremost. The music, when I heard the main character, listen, no spoilers. However, at this point, you have had more than enough time to see this movie more than once, okay? So hopefully I'm not ruining anything for anybody. However, when I first heard the main character strum his guitar and sing, even I was like, I felt it. I felt it. So many times in movies, we have a main character who's supposed to have like this supernatural talent or the supernatural ability. I think back to the movie Sucker Punch, if you've ever seen that, where it was a really powerful film about, girl power and escaping the traps of the patriarchy, and in so many ways. And when the main character had this supernatural ability to mesmerize and hypnotize just by the sway in her movements, in her body, in the way she danced. But they never really showed you that she could actually dance, right? The main character really never embodied, the actress never really embodied that actual talent. In Sinners, when the main character opened his mouth to sing, I was a believer. I felt it. I understood how that was a voice that had the potential and the power to thin the veil, to open the veil for the ancestors, past and future, which is super powerful. And to touch on that, I was deeply moved by the representation of the hoodoo practitioner as the pillar for healing and strength and wisdom and guidance. This woman who, by all intensive purposes, would have been considered to be practicing black magic or doing the devil's work by, dabbling, practicing, and studying herbs and roots. She was a pillar in the community in this film. She was the one that, the sharecroppers were coming to the plant, those still working on plantations would send their babies up the road with plantation dollars in order to get healing herbs and salves and, some prayer work, some petitions, right? And it was a very validating character for me in this film because I play that role in my life, in my community, right? I am that. I am the hoodoo witch practitioner who has the knowledge of divination and herbs and crystals, and many people in my family, or who have might have grown up with me, might have considered me to be strange or weird or the black sheep or whatever. And I stayed true to that. I stood on that because I understood that I was called to play a specific role in my community. And so after watching Sinners, I just felt like this hug, this embrace coming from the culture, right? And I highly encourage you to also, be a little more open-minded and also embrace the black sheep in your family or in your community. Those are the ones that, were forged in the fire, right? All of that hellfire that all of the elders was throwing at them, and, they were forged in that flame, and they came out on the other side as phoenixes, as powerful leaders, as powerful healers, as powerful way showers, right? These are your healers. These are your midwives. These are your knowers. These are the ones that will recognize the demon before anybody else does, right? So shout out to Ryan Coogler and the rest of the cast and crew for the movie Sinners. It gave me my immortal as life. I felt seen, I felt honored, I felt full with the acknowledgement of just the wisdom of the women, right? The wisdom of, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the movie, and I'm grateful to have been chosen and to have heard the call and to stand in my power. So it is what it is for everybody else that, might be a little bit afraid of that level of power. It exists in the church too. Many of us still work with biblical text. It's a powerful text. Many of us will still go to church, right? We ain't gonna burst into flames. We'll come and praise and worship with you, but are you open-minded enough to come and tap into our power with us? Something to think about.